And House Democrats are pushing to impeach the president based on his Ukraine policies, including the firing of an American ambassador. But Ukrainians had demanded that ambassador's recall long before the president made that decision. One America's Neil McCabe has more from Washington.
Christopher Hull is a senior fellow at Americans for Intelligence Reform, and his Ph.D. in government affairs is from Georgetown. He told One American News that former ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, was a holdover from the previous administration.
So the Obama administration in 2016 appointed Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch as ambassador to Ukraine, and in that position she served until this May. Well, during that time, she managed to infuriate those in Ukraine, many in Ukraine, including in the parliament, who were concerned about the values that she was pushing forward.
Hull said Yovanovitch went out of her way to offend Ukrainian members of parliament and cultural leaders.
Like every Obama-era ambassador, she was pushing a radical leftist agenda in a deeply conservative country, which revolted in horror based on what she was doing.
The former House Chief of Staff said that for the last 5 years he has mentored conservative communities in Ukraine, and he has joined their hostility to Yovanovitch.
I was part of pushing for her to be removed based solely on the fact she was trying to advance her radical agenda in Ukraine. And I am glad that she was removed based solely on the activities that she was undertaking.
One dramatic example of how the American embassy in Kiev was agitating traditional Ukrainians was its participation in a march in support of non-mainstream lifestyles.
In June of 2018, then Ambassador Yovanovitch delivered 50 individuals from the U.S. Embassy to what the Ukrainians refer to as a gay march, that is an LGBT-friendly march. People who were praying overnight before the march took place were physically dispersed.
After the march, traditional Ukrainians sent a letter to President Donald Trump demanding he recall Yovanovitch because her meddling in their politics violated the 1961 Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Conduct, he said.
In a letter signed by 39 civic organizations, Christian organizations, religious organizations there in Ukraine, they called for then Ambassador Yovanovitch to be recalled. And they did that citing a specific clause in the Vienna Convention that states that nobody with diplomatic credentials is supposed to be interfering in affairs of that country. And therefore she had violated her diplomatic credentials and the agreement under which they were provided. And so they were calling for her to be recalled.
The author of A History of the Iowa Caucuses, Grassroots Rules, said, firing Yovanovitch was justified by her conduct a full year before she was fired by President Donald Trump.
Ambassador Yovanovitch was freelancing. That's a terrible mistake. I think the Trump administration, based on that alone, would have been justified in removing her from her post, which they eventually, thankfully, rightfully did.
Neil W. McCabe, One American News, Washington.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.